right, so soil, otherwise known as dirt, is amazing, amazing stuff. And one of the things that I think makes it so amazing is, oh, a couple of things, but one of the things is the fact that it supports so much life. And so I'm holding this soil in my hand. The soil came from the cypress dome right behind me. And if you can tell, all of these little stringy things are actually needles from the cypress tree. So those cypress trees lose their needles every season, every fall, the needles fall off. And so the soil is largely made up of those decomposing needles, at least the soil on the surface. So this relationship that the soil has with the living things, I think, is amazing. And in this handful of soil, there are hundreds of living organisms that you can't even see. So you can see the trees, those are really cool. But the thing that is probably more magical is all the things you can't see. So I can look at this soil and I can say that's really rich soil and it's amazing. It's got a lot of organic material, and that tells me something about that environment. The other cool thing about soil is that it can tell you a story. Tell you a story about where you're standing. So I'm standing actually in a marsh right now that's right in a transition zone toward that cypress dome. And so if I take a little hand auger here and I push it down into the soil, I'll see what we get here. So I talked about this being a marsh. Marshes usually have water. This marsh has no water right now. So how do I know it's a marsh other than where it's located and the fact that I've come here when there is water here? One of the ways that I can tell is by looking at the soil, right? And so the soil can tell us a good story. This soil looks very different from this soil, right? There's a little bit of organic material at the top, and there's a lot of sand going all the way down. And that sand has very little organics in it. And that is largely because the water that sits on the surface drains down and carries all of the organics way down deep inside the soil column. So you don't see quite as much organic material at the top. So that tells me that this is covered with water, has a long hydro period for a fairly good part of the year, covered in water. A story.